Ladies and gentlemen, it's been, I guess, about 6 years since Aajonus Vonderplanitz was with us the last time. I think since then he went back to England, got a PhD in nutrition.
Yes.
And he had come down with very serious cancerous conditions, happened to find nutrition as a way to overcome it. He wrote a book, the first one I think was We Want to Live, followed up with the recipe for living without disease. And now he's come back with another book, We Want to Live, the Primal Diet. So it's a pleasure to introduce Dr. Aajonus Vonderplanitz. Thank you for being here.
Thank you. Now, how many of you are biochemists? How many of you understood all of the language that went on here during this entire weekend about what nutrients you have to have for your particular condition or whatever? I want you to throw all of that out. Get rid of all of it. You're just going to be confused. I'm a biochemist and a very adept one, and I can't even keep up with it. And just know that anytime you're taking any kind of medication, supplement, even if they're called natural, how they are made is the producer, wanting to make a very good product, goes to a laboratory and said, I want a natural vitamin, all completely natural. I don't want you to use anything unnatural in it. And the laboratory says, oh, I can do that. And you know how they do that? They go to General Foods, General Mills, Purina, and they buy all of their leftover food waste. And that's what they take the elements from. It's been subjected to 60,000 chemicals, highly processing, and full of toxins. Then that company will use a natural solvent, and that natural solvent is kerosene. And they use kerosene derivatives to extract the nutrients that will be put into your pill or liquid or whatever it is. How many of you would soak your food in kerosene for 30 minutes, rinse it off for 45 seconds, and eat it? That's what you're doing when you're having any supplement. I gave this particular information to a group, and a big famous natural supplemental company filed a lawsuit against me. I showed them all of my research with all laboratories and told them about the kerosene and where they got the stuff. And this company said, no, we provide our own food. We grow our foods. I said, but if you grew your foods and just use your food, you'd still have to use kerosene as the extractor or kerosene derivative. Plus, you would be charging $1,000 a pill. They have to go get waste product to make it viable, profitably viable. So that company backed off. No one has been able to sue me because what I have to tell you is correct. If you want good, healthy nutrients, the only place you're going to get them is raw food. Now you have to consider what we are. We are bacteria. You are 0.5% human. For every one human gene, you have 150 bacterial genes. So you have to take everything the pharmaceutical and the medical industry say, no matter who it is, whether it's an alternative or what, and you have to question what they say based on the theory of the bacteria theory causing disease. Bacteria does not cause disease. E. coli 157H7 may, because that's a man-made one. The only place I've been able to collect 157H7 is from laboratories that were given it by the FDA or the CDC. And when I put a fractionating enzyme on that particular bacteria, it does not fractionate as normal bacteria fractionate into 5 parts. It splices. That means it's man-made. Only man-made bacteria are spliceable. So all of the nonsense about E. coli being a problem is all because Monsanto and Dow want your dollar for fertilizers. They tried to outlaw last year manure as fertilizer because of the E. coli 157H7 threat. So what would be left? If we outlawed natural fertilizers, what would be left? Dow and Monsanto. So you have to take a hard look at what's going on out there. They're trying to get rid of our farmers. They're trying to get rid of our natural farms. And that's the only way you can get pure, whole, natural vitamins. Once you heat food above 105 degrees, you've destroyed the bacterial activity. And remember that all functions of any animal are bacterial. If you took an antibiotic for 5 days, you've destroyed 1% of the whole body's functionality. Think about that. Then you wonder why people who take antibiotics for extended periods get weaker and weaker and weaker and more susceptible. My mother, for example, she got breast cancer about 9 years ago. And she said, she called me and said, I know you're entirely against this, but I'm going to do it. She's a nurse, caught up in the whole thing. And I said, well, what are you going to do? She said, well, first I'm going to have the lumpectomy, and then I'm going to have pinpoint radiation. I said, okay, Mom, let's take a look at those. Lumpectomy. They're going to remove, 11 of your lymph glands? What do lymph glands do in the body? Lymph glands are your immune system. There's really no such thing as an immune system. The pharmaceuticals' idea of immune system is just to confuse you. You have a cleansing system in your body. The lymphatic system is responsible for cleaning any waste and toxin out of your body. It has to break down cells and dissolve them into compounds that it can put under the skin so you can perspire them out of the body. 90% of toxins are supposed to leave through the skin, 10% through the other tracts, digestive, bowels, urinary tract. But 90% are supposed to leave through the skin. If you have rashes, if you have pimples, and you have cancer, expect it and be happy you have it because it's going out the skin. Imagine the damage it would do to the intestines and to your digestion if it were going out the intestinal tract. So you have to think about all those things. When you reach 112 degrees, you have incapacitated all enzymes that help digestion. When you reach 122 degrees, you've destroyed most of your major vitamins, including vitamin A. By the time you've hit 132 degrees, you have destroyed all of those natural vitamins, enzymes, and subcategory nutrients. When you get up to 141 degrees, which was the old pasteurization temperature, and for only 15 seconds, you cauterized 50% of your calcium. That means you were unable to utilize 50% of your calcium. Now, the higher the temperature goes, you reach all kinds of points of destruction. Protein destruction, fat destruction that causes lipid peroxides, heterocyclic amines, and all sorts of compounds. There are 32 known toxins produced from cooking. All of those cause buildup of toxins in the body. When you reach a point of cancer like I had, you're in really bad shape. And I was 20 years old. My death sentence was 21. I first got an ulcer. The treatment for that gave me tumor on the ulcer. The treatment for that was a vagotomy pyloroplasty. They removed the tumor, sewed up, stretched my duodenum into 3 times the normal size, completely scarring it, and severing all the nerves to my all the vagus nerves to my stomach, so I would no longer secrete hydrochloric acid. If I had no hydrochloric acid, I couldn't have an ulcer, right? But how about protein digestion? They put me in the category of octogenarians who cannot produce hydrochloric acid and digest their proteins. So basically, how was I to live? They also told me, because I didn't produce hydrochloric acid, that I would be in danger of death if I ate anything raw. I had to steam apples, bananas, no matter what it was, everything had to be cooked. Now you take a look at that. Well, if that destroys all the nutrients, then how am I going to benefit? I did what they said. I ended up a worm on the floor. I was so painful on my back because the radiation was so intense. They cauterized 5 inches of my back. It was solid. If I made even a bit of movement, I was excruciating pain. I lived on a floor, crawling on a floor like a worm. So much pain I couldn't urinate into a vessel, couldn't defecate into a vessel. I vomited and urinated and defecated all over myself and just traveled around the wooden floor of the living room, dining room combined, just doing that. And then a couple of volunteers from the hospice came to help me several days a week, and they would clean me up in the whole house. And one of them was an 18-year-old African-American boy from Watts. He said, if you drink carrot juice and raw milk, you'll probably reverse your cancers. I lived on powdered donuts and RC Cola, you know. What's this about carrot juice and raw milk? And at the point after the radiation therapy, within a few months, a few weeks, 6-7 weeks, all the bone deteriorated around my gum. Because why? I had damaged the blood and bones, so that I developed multiple myeloma, cancer of the blood and bone, and then developed lymphoma from the chemotherapy. So their therapies give you cancer. Nowadays they make about $280,000 per cancer patient. That's a lot of money. Back then they got $160,000 for me. And they still are doing very well. They do not want a cure for cancer. And the cure for cancer, as Dr. Samuel Epstein, who was a doctor for several presidents, said the only cure for cancer is diet. All of the medical professions, treatments for cancer are only harmful and will not get you well and will promote more cancer. Now let's take a look at what cancer is from my perspective. When I did autopsies and did my research, what I found was cells, mainly 98% of a tumor, was always dead cells. Dead cells the body couldn't clean, dissolve, and eliminate from the body. Why? Because the lymph system didn't move. Now, how did we go from 60 years ago, 1 cancer in 1,000 to 1 cancer in 2 if you're a male and 1 in 3 if you're a female, according to Samuel Epstein? How did we go from that? We went from that because we went to trans fatty acids. Trans fatty acids are vegetable oils or mineral oils or petroleum oils that are hydrogenated. And when you hydrogenate an oil, you turn it into plastic. That's how plastic is made. So you're eating plastic fats. Now, what do these plastic fats do? They dehydrate and solidify in the body, mostly in the lymphatic system, because the lymphatic system bases 60 to 80% of its work on fats. So you have this waxy, hard fat in your lymphatic system. You're not going to clean the body. You're not going to take those dead cells and dissolve them. So the body is going to start building them in little fibroids all over the system. If you're a lucky female, you've got all of that tissue down there to build it. That's why women live longer. They have a depository down there and can get rid of a lot of the tumors with dead cells without forming into tumors that will block functionality elsewhere, such as the heart, lungs, or liver. So dissolving the dead cells is the main focus of cancer. How do you dissolve dead cells? I found it's very easy. Now, I'm 44-year cancer survivor. As of December, I was supposed to die in December of '68. And here I am today, almost 65, speaking to you today. And I have a 95 on my diet. I don't cure anybody. Food does. And when people go on my diet, they have a 95% success rate. Not only cancer, but everything else. And the esteemed Dr. Elnora Van Winkle, who is the chief neuroscientist at Columbia University in New York City, challenged me. So I gave her, this was in 2002, she challenged me about that record. And then I gave her the 242 cancer patients that I'd worked with up to that time, and that had been on the diet for at least 6 years. And she called every one of them, found that 96% of them were still alive and well, and still doing the diet about 90%. And the ones that passed away, guess how much of the diet they did? 40 to 50%. And the ones who were the ones who died, they were very thin people. I tell everybody in my books, get fat. Fats are what dissolve toxins in the body. Your body gets the best energy from fats. It will dissolve toxins from fats, and it will protect and strengthen the body. So fats are the most important. Now you can say, oh, Aajonus, you don't look so fat, right? Well, that's because I've been eating nothing but raw since February of 72. And when you research and look at fats under an electronic microscope, especially after they're broken down in the stomach and in the area where the bile dumps, you find that these molecules are very, very tiny. When you take a cooked food and you analyze that, you'll find that these swell 5 to 50 times their normal size. So you take fat back, like the pork rind, and it's very, very thin, and then you cook it, and what happens? It's this big, swollen. So right now I'm 19% body fat, and I look like I'm 7 to 10% body fat. That's because all the fat in my body has been made with very tiny raw molecules. So I eat at least 2 pounds of raw unsalted butter weekly and a quart of raw cream, and I mean heavy, heavy, thick cream, which would be like 2 quarts of thin cream. I eat a tremendous amount of fats. I tell all of my cancer patients that they should get women should get at least 23 pounds overweight, and men should get at least 35 pounds overweight. Those fats are responsible for absorbing the toxins that are killing your cells. If you have already collected a lot of cells, dead cells in the body, and you have cancer, you have to stop your body from collecting more. You have to make sure that it dissolves those dead cells so that the body can eliminate it, either perspire it or dump it out the intestines. Now, you're not going to perspire it out the skin as the main organ to discharge it unless your lymphatic system is working properly. So let's get to how we do that. Okay, we'll have all the fats in the body. We have the protection. Any more toxins break down. We inhale any that comes in our environment, any that may be in the food. They may lie. We have organic food, but they lie. FDA allows them to use 15% toxic substances even in organic food. So to protect ourselves from this, we have all these fats. So now we have the fats to protect us and to also dissolve the toxicity. How do we get that lymphatic system moving? Hot baths. Saunas don't do it because they're too hot. Even the infrared ones, they go up to 137 degrees. What temperatures start destroying the enzymes in skin? 110, 112 degrees. So we need to keep a constant temperature of about 108 degrees. For 90 minutes is what I found. I've seen tumors dissolve overnight if somebody has been in a hot tub for 6-7 hours. Doesn't happen in every case. In most cases, if the tumor's deep, If the tumor's on the skin, that's a normal process. So dissolve it with heat, water, heat. Now, if you have municipal water, you've got a lot of contamination. And if you're in LA, proper LA, not in the valley here, your water's been used 3 times before it gets there. 196 chemicals. But it's bacteria free. That's what the government tells you. Oh, it's bacteria free, it's safe. But you've got all of the industry here in the valley and up in Saugus before it gets to LA. So you have 196 chemicals in the water if you live in LA. Here you've got 141 in the valley. So take a look at that. You need to protect yourself. I recommend putting about a cup of raw milk in the bath with about 3 tablespoons of raw apple cider vinegar and some sun-dried sea salt. And that will neutralize the poisons so that they don't get into your tissues and cause more problems. Now, when I used to get into the LA water without those ingredients in it, I would be shaking like I had 5 cups of coffee in just minutes. 6 minutes, I would be a nervous wreck. So I had to experiment and learn how I could defuse these toxins that were in the water. And just think about it. All the people who use, paint thinners and the industry that use all their solvents and muriatic acid, all of that's in the water and not filtered out well. So you have to protect yourself. So you get into, and the hot tub is the best, like an Ofuro Japanese hot tub. I think you can get them for like $1,850 now, and they used to be $6,000. And then the works, if you get those in parts and have a plumber come in and put it all together, you can have a whole setup for about $2,500. And let me tell you, that's the best money you'll ever spend besides good nutrients. So you dissolve those dead cells. You make sure your lymphatic system can dissolve dead cells on a daily basis, because you lose a tremendous amount of cells every day. And if you don't dissolve them, they will collect. That's why cancer can grow so quickly. And it isn't a growth of the cancer cell, because the cancer cell is the remedy. Cancer cell is the cure. Why is that? Because when I fractionated the cancer cell, what I found was it had a fluid in it that would dissolve anywhere from 50 to 200 dead cells that surround it. And like I said, in a tumor, you will only have less than 1 to 2% cancer cells in this whole dead mass. So the cancer cell, when it dies, it sets out all this fluid to dissolve all this dead tissue around there. Your body had better be fat and prepared to deal with that kind of dissolved toxicity, because whatever has killed that cell, whatever industrial chemical has killed that cell or compound, whichever it may be, will do more damage. It can dissolve your whole tissue. And it's very easy to take the hot baths and eat properly. Reversing cancer is that easy if you know what you're doing and you understand it. You don't have to have this vitamin supplement and that vitamin supplement. You hear all this stuff, iodine, iron. We're not plants. Plants eat rock. We don't eat rock. We only digest minerals properly and utilize them properly when they are a composite of food. Raw food. It's the only way we get complementary. And salt is one of the worst things a cancer patient, anybody can do, next to cooking. Why is that? Because sodium is an explosive. It is more volatile than nitroglycerin. If you take pure sodium and put it into one block about the size of a football, it will take out New York City and all of its buildings. Just one block that size. My father he was an inventor. He invented his first bearing computer. He worked on jet engines for the military and General Electric, and they were given $2 billion to make sodium into a weapon. But it was so volatile that just 1.5 degree temperature change would set it off. They couldn't control it anywhere like nitroglycerin. And they still don't use nitroglycerin as a weapon because they can't control it. Sodium is worse. So what happens when salt, it has other minerals bound with it, of course, unless it's sodium chloride or sodium iodide, which is manufactured. So that neutralizes it while it's in your mouth, but you can hear it popping, you can hear it cutting into the mucus. You gargle with it and it breaks down mucus. It's an explosive. So what happens when it gets into the blood, your body separates the sodium and all of a sudden it starts exploding. Now when a cell eats, it eats 93 to 117 nutrients. That's every nutrient on this planet in a smorgasbord. And a cell opens by ionization and it absorbs that smorgasbord in and eats a balanced diet. When you use salt, even just 2 little bitty grains at a meal, you will kill 2 million red blood cells and make every cell in your blood deficient. It will break that molecule, it'll start breaking up those clusters of smorgasbord, and the cell may get anywhere from 23 to 70 nutrients instead of 93 to 117. So your body goes under constant deficiency, undergoes constant deficiency because you use salt. Salt is the big way that the King and Queen of England used to subjugate a lot of people for a very, very long time. And the King and Queen of England, that family owns almost all of the salt manufacturing in the world. And it's not a good thing. Sure, it helps preserve food and it'll help mummify you. Of what? Dead cells. What is cancer? Collection of dead cells. And again, like Samuel Epstein said, Dr. Samuel Epstein, 1 in every 2 men gets cancer, 1 in every 3 women today. That's a horrible rate. How can that be? Okay, we look back and we see where the start of it began after World War II. Now, what was World War II used? In my research, I found that World War II was used to bring in canned and preserved foods, industrially canned. What happened immediately after the canned foods came in after World War II? Tonsillitis and poliomyelitis. 2 metal-forming diseases that dissolved the spinal cord and the tonsils. Now, the tonsils protect the brain from any kind of toxin that's in the food that you eat. And it started rotting and deteriorating the tonsils exponentially. They didn't blame it on the canned foods. What they did was started 61, the King and Queen of England, who run 70% of all and own 70% of all the food manufacturing in the world, started lining the tin cans inside with plastic. That's when plastic came into fold. They didn't tell you, they didn't want to tell you why they were all of a sudden plasticizing the inside, because people would have linked a lot of diseases like tonsillitis and polio to that. And then what happened in 1958? The drop in polio went down to less than 1%. And that's when the vaccine came out the year after. But they cured polio. Nonsense. No vaccine has ever cured anybody of anything and prevented anybody of anything. When I did research from 93 to 96 at the Sorbonne Institute in France, 3 months of every year for those 3 years, a little over 3 years, I had a translator. I can read a lot of French, but I can't do all of that, not in technical form. So I had a translator with me, and not one animal ever survived Pasteur's vaccines. They all went into anaphylactic shock and died. Now you have to take a look at that. Why did they die? Because when the body has that kind of toxicity in it, it supposes that it's going to die. That's it. It's going to die. So it goes into anaphylactic shock and dies. So what did the pharmaceutical industry, Rockefeller and them, decide to do? They started putting formaldehyde in first. And they found that the fewer animals went into anaphylactic shock. Then they went into putting mercury and other substances in it. Liquid aluminum, mercury, formaldehyde, ether, and detergent were the main ones. No ingredients in a vaccine is safe. They are all toxic on their own account. And when you put them into a soup, what do you have? So don't let anybody ever tell you you're a bad parent. Just say to them, okay, and I have the research down. You can go to my website. I think it's there. And I don't run the website, but you can go to the WeWantToLive.com. The TO is a numeral 2. And get what's in the vaccines. And you take that to a doctor, your school, or whatever it is, and you say, you can explain to me how these can be safe and good when they're toxic. They're known toxins. And then you get them to sign a waiver to take responsibility for anything that happens up to $1 million, and they won't do it, and you won't have to have vaccines. So if you want to reverse cancer, you have to stay away from doctors, you have to stay away from medication, you have to stay away from anything that's going to cause damage to cells in your body and collect dead cells. It's that easy. And my diet, the primal diet, works very, very well in conjunction and removing cancer pretty quickly and other diseases along with the hot tub baths. Thank you very much for everyone coming, and I hope I've helped you.
Aajonus, thank you. Thanks again for being here.
The way you can tell whether fruit is truly organic is rub it like this, and then rub a little bit around your nostril and a little bit around the outside of the eye. If you start itching, it is a lie. It's not organic. Right. And what I do is, if I have a fruit like that I have to eat, there's nothing else, I will take about 2 cups of water, and then I'll put about 2 ounces of milk in it, and a 1/4 teaspoon of vinegar, and then I put my fruit in there and I shake it. Mainly berries, water, things like that. And I don't eat the heart of the water, sugar down. Cherries are low in sugar too. Sprouts are very, very bad. I don't care what kind of sprouts they are. If you put a bird on sprouts, they will kill it. Only sprouts, it will kill them in 3 days. In the grain by itself, you have phytic acid. And that's what they tell you to germinate the grain or sprout it, to get the grain, the phytic acid out of whatever grain you be or nut. But what the problem is that you generate 3 other enzymes that behave exactly like phytic acid. So you have a 3-pound complex there. And see, the vegetarians and those people don't take the biochemistry all the way. And that's the problem. So that's why it will kill a bird in 3 to 5 days if you feed them only sprouts. You will die if you eat only sprouts. I've seen many people that have gone on a sprout feasting diet, and they've gotten very sick by the 3rd day. Severe diarrhea, cramping in the intestines, because they stop absorbing minerals, you stop digesting those certain minerals, you stop absorbing and digesting protein, and then the fats, so it's compounded. All enzymes are processed. They do it with kerosene derivatives. Doesn't make any difference. All of them have to use kerosene. The only way you can get good enzymes is you eat a tablespoon of papaya or pineapple. It's as easy as that. If you want a digestive supplement, you take a tablespoon of papaya or a tablespoon of pineapple with your meal. It's that easy. Coconut butter is highly processed. It heats. Coconut cream is good. Coconut oil fermented is good. Yes.
Sure, yeah, I'll give you my contact info.
All of them are concentrated in sodium. All of them are called that. The only way you can get concentrated sodium is by eating tomatoes, celery juice, and watermelon. And those are not harmful. Pardon? Well, we don't suggest seaweed sodium. No. Watermelon, celery juice. Pardon?
Dulse.
Dulse you can't digest. When I did experiments with algae and dulses and any kind of seaweed, 98% of it passed in the feces undigested. We are not water creatures to begin with to deal with all the sodium in it, and we don't digest vegetation, and that's sea-based heavy salt vegetation. We digest 1%, 2% of the maximum. But your best mineral supplement is taking raw and salted cheese and eating it with a tiny bit of honey, like 6 to 1. Pardon? Correct.
Unsalted.
Unsalted, yes.
You
No
said
salt, raw cheese.
You said that cheese is the best mineral supplement?
Pardon?
You say cheese is a
Your
mineral
best
supplement?
food mineral supplement.
Without
Cheese
salt.
with honey,
And no salt.
no salt. Any unheated honey.
Why would
Raw, they can heat raw honey. They can heat raw honey up to over 70 degrees raw.
why would
You can heat. You can even take unheated honey and heat up to 100, 102, 121 degrees and call it unheated. You have to ask the farmer. Listen, I want. Who put that in there? You have to ask the beekeeper that he doesn't take never heats the honey to bottle it or extract it. Should never go over 93 degrees. Now let me tell you what honey is. The bee collects the nectar, swallows it, pre-digests it. It makes an insulin-like substance which converts 90% of the carbohydrate into enzymes for digesting and utilizing protein and fats. When it gets back to the hive, it vomits. That's what honey is. Pre-digested bee vomit. And it's delicious, isn't it? You have to get away from all this icky bacteria crap. We are bacteria. Look at all the animals go around licking each other's butts all the time. Do they have a problem? No, that's good bacteria. Feeds their brain. E. coli is responsible, the fecal matter is responsible for feeding the brain and the nervous system.
You're not suggesting we eat shit.
For some people, I know that they do it when they can't eat meat. Like in Georgia, Russia, the poor people, they eat fecal matter. It's pre-digested by the herbivore, the cow or the buffalo, and it's pre-digested. Those cows and buffaloes have digested 58 to 67% of the fecal matter. Then when we put it in our systems, it'll get through in 24 hours. But it's not very good tasting, smelling stuff unless that's all you have. Then they love the smell of it.
Yeah, because the only person I've seen eat is dogs. They'll turn
Dogs
around
do it a
and
lot.
it.
Oh, a lot of animals
Kids
do
do
it.
that too.
You just only see
Babies
dogs.
do it.
Their poo-poo?
Yeah. They play with it. They don't know that it's.
Absolutely, yeah.
They make finger drawings.
And you know, in this book, I have 82 sauces that can be made in 3 to 5 different ways. So that's 400 raw meat sauces, and they are incredible. Stroganoff, everything.
raw meat sauces?
Raw wine. You got alcohol. It's going to do nerve damage. It's going to do liver damage. If you do like the French do, or used to before they got paranoid with fats, they also used to eat a lot of creams with their meals, and they could handle the wine because the fat absorbed the alcohol, and it didn't damage the liver and nervous system. So if you're one of those who has to have wine, make sure that you have some raw cream or raw butter first before you drink it.
And it's sauerkraut. Naturally done.
Yes, but again, it's a vegetation,
So,
and it will interfere with your digestion of meats and animal products.
well, if you're just doing it, I thought that the old people in Europe and everywhere, the East, and
It works for people who eat cooked food.
Right. It helps the digestion.
It helps the digestive if you eat cooked foods.
Okay, if you're eating raw, you don't need it.
Exactly. It's harmful if you eat a raw diet. Yeah.
What do you think about the ratio between calcium absorption and silica? Since we're supposed to be going to a silica base.
Like I said, in there, you don't have to worry about any of that chemistry. Forget all of that chemistry.
Silica.
You get silica in all foods.
Yeah, but how do you absorb it? That's the whole deal.
You
It's
eat it
absorption.
raw so it isn't
So
cauterized.
what is good silica product? Tell me.
Strawberries,
Right?
cucumbers, any, zucchini, any of those are high in silica.
And celery. No?
No, because of the high sodium, you won't utilize the
How can
silica very
celery
well.
so high sodium when it tastes so bland? It's lovely. It's very interesting.
That's
isn't it?
because it doesn't have any carbohydrates.
Ah,
Celery is a negative. If you're having celery juice, there's not enough carbohydrates to digest celery, period.
so what
So
you
that's why
add?
it's
Tomato,
mixed.
tomato and carrot? Okay.
Well, if you're looking for silica, you want,
And how about milk products from cows? Do they absorb silica from grass?
absolutely. They digest everything. Yeah, but again, well, you can juice it, but don't eat it whole. No, never juice fruit.
Why not?
Because the sugar will rush into your system fast and cause damage.
How about wheatgrass? Wheatgrass.
Grass? I don't eat too much.
Not true.
You never have the fruits.
Yes, I eat fruits, whole fruits with fat. Always with fat.
No more Jamba Juice?
Raw cheese. Let me finish. I eat the fruit always with either raw no salt cheese or cream or butter or avocado because it slows down the sugar reaction. And in the citric acid cycle of making energy, your body uses 80% fat, 15% proteins as a form of pyruvate, which is a protein sugar, and then 5% vitamin C or carbohydrate. So we just need a small amount of the sugar. So if I supply the fats with it, and let's say I take a tablespoon of cream, that will be a ratio of about calorie-wise, fat-wise, about 6 times greater than the sugar. And if I add another half a tablespoon, I've got around the 80-15-5 ratio. Yeah, but I usually go overboard. I like more fat with it, so I don't have to deal with any advanced glycation end product that results from high sugar foods.
What about an advanced pancreatic cancer?
Absolutely, but when anybody who's an advanced case, like in this book, I talk about this woman who had emphysema. Her MD called me on a Thursday night. It was been 1:30 her time. It was like 9:30 my time or 10:30 my time here. And she says, I have an emphysemic patient. Was diagnosed 7 years ago. She's been bedridden for almost 2 years. She's on machines for 2 years. She's going to die this weekend. What can I do? So you're calling me a little late, aren't you? And she said, well, I'm a doctor. I have to follow the medical AMA prescribed medical procedures, which is written by the pharmaceutical industry, for 10 years. If it fails for 10 years, I can suggest alternatives. If the patient is on their deathbed, I can suggest alternatives. So that's why she's coming. So if you go to a doctor, know that you're condemned to pharmaceutical therapies for 10 years. You can never suggest anything else. So go to a doctor is nonsense, a regular medical doctor. So I said, well, the only thing that I can suggest that you do is you get the most easily digested food in the world, which are eggs. They can digest in 27 minutes. Milk is the next most quickly digested food, and it takes 6 to 10 hours. So I said, what you need to do is get her 10 to 15 dozen raw eggs, put them at her bedside, and let her eat as many as she can. There's no limit.
You mean raw?
Raw, of course. So I got a call on Monday morning from this raspy voiced woman saying, it worked, I'm out of bed, what should I do? And I said, well, who are you? And she said, well, my doctor told you I had emphysema, I was on machines, I was supposed to die this weekend. I ate all the eggs you recommended, I'm out of bed and off the machines. What do I do now? I said, keep eating eggs, but how many did it take? She said, well, I ate 33 on Saturday and 33 on Sunday. And she says, I'm off the machines, out of bed. Eggs are so vital because you're only using 5 inches of the digestive tract to absorb and digest it. You don't need any hydrochloric acid. Use the bacteria in your mouth to begin it, like you saw me sucking and getting the saliva. Bacteria is the only thing necessary to digest a liquid food like that. Milk is more complex. You need some hydrochloric acid instead. But bacteria doesn't. So you're able to recoup very quickly because eggs have every nutrient on this planet. It's the only food that has it. However, it lacks the ability to multiply growth hormones. So you won't heal, you won't divide cells quicker. You will rebuild all the cells that are already alive quicker. In India, they don't have as many products. Like just in India last year, they came out with a new soda, which is from cow's urine. Because in India, they drink a lot of urine because they're vegetarian to recycle their proteins and B vitamins, especially B12. And your blood, your urine is nothing other than your blood without the red blood cells, with a little ammonia in it. So if your blood is healthy, your urine is going to be healthy. There's nothing wrong with it. One time I fasted an experiment for 45 days on drinking urine. I only lost 10 pounds, 45 days of fasting. When I fasted for 32 days, and I'm not for fasting, this is for experiment. When I fasted before on just water, in 32 days, I lost 60 pounds. I went down to 96 pounds. I don't drink water. Water's dangerous. It will dilute your digestive enzymes, nutrients, mostly alkaline. It will alkalinize your digestive juices, and it's not good. If you're eating raw foods, everything contains predominantly water. Meat's 70, 55% water. Milk is 86% water. But all of it, and fruits, 92, 93% water. And it's mineral and enzymes and vitamin rich, nutrient-rich water that your body can use. If you just drink water, what happens? You get thirstier. The more water you drink, the thirstier you get.
So what do you use for liquid?
I drink milk. I drink 2 quarts of milk a day.
Gold or powder?
I drink cow's milk. I would get too thin if I ate goat's milk.
Raw milk?
All the way, everything I eat is raw.
What's the question?
No, you can eat rotten meat galore. The Eskimos eat rotten meat. I eat lots of rotten meat. Pre-digested, like you. Wait a minute, this lady.
You know, some of the countries have. Well, people get cold from
People can get what?
They get cold about eating eggs.
Only if they're eating it cold. If you eat those things raw, they'll warm the body. If you eat cheese and honey together, you will heat up quickly. If your person goes around with cold feet and cold hands, you eat raw, no salt cheese with unheated honey, and you're going to get warm very quickly.
Two good questions. What do you recommend for diabetes, diabetic or vegetarian? I mean, I'm a vegetarian and I'm not meat. I can have dairy, so. Secondly, yeah.
Will you eat eggs? Okay. Well, if you do okay with it, fine. I have a lot of clients that just do dairy and eggs, and just a few that do just dairy. They're mainly women, and they do okay with them. If you do okay with that, you're fine. If you find that you're demineralizing, or you're not strong as you want to be, and your stomach is distended, then I would say you need some meat at least once in a while. The Dalai Lama got very sick 7 years ago. Fred Siegel, the famous, very wealthy Fred Siegel, is a friend of the Dalai Lama's. He's on my diet, been on my diet for 12 years. So the Dalai got sick. Fred flew over there and said, "Hey, I'm on this diet, look at me," because when I took Fred, he was 68 years old and like this. And he was on a vegetarian diet. His wife was vegetarian. He's been vegetarian for about 7 years and very weak. went on my diet in just 18 months, standing straight and strong. 18 months after that, the Dalai Lama got sick. So we went to the Dalai Lama and said, and the Dalai Lama said, wow, you look great, Fred. What are you doing? He says, I'm eating raw meat. I'm eating this raw diet. The Dalai Lama that day ate raw meat. He says, I'm not going to stick with vegetarianism, even though that was my teaching, if it doesn't serve me. And he says it's his medicine, and he eats the meat today because it's medicine. So you have to take a look, you have to balance your philosophy with that. And I thought that was the most brilliant vegetarian I've ever heard of, you know, because he was willing to change. Let me get him.
A while ago, but I'm not sure, but I think you said red meat is
Yes, good for any of the red meat tissue, muscles, all of that. Yeah. Pancreas, spleen, liver, gallbladder, muscles.
Fast with the meat, right?
Always eat. I always eat butter with my meat. Not cream unless it's sour cream because it coats it and it doesn't digest well with fresh cream.
What about sugar cane?
Sugar cane, agave is completely processed. Sugar cane, when you get it, it would be fine if you juiced it. Now, when I'm in Asia, that's my main vegetable juice is sugar cane. I even grow it beside my house in Thailand. And I will juice that, and that's my main juice. I will add things to it, you know, I'll juice some carrots, something like that. The sugar cane is fine. Now, the only time that I found it caused a heightened sugar level was in children. It didn't cause them to be crazy, but it caused them to be more hyperactive. I suggest that people eat 1.5 to 2 tablespoons of butter with a half a pound of meat.
Any recommendations?
We're going to have to cut this out really soon. Yes.
One question.
And then my books are available, and the CDs, the DVDs are also available. They say it bad, poorly affects them. They don't know what they're talking about. Do I look like I have a problem? My brain. And I've been eating raw meat since 1976, 3 days a week, since December of '82, every day.
What's your blood pressure?
It's around it's around, just had it done a few weeks ago. I think it was about 76 over 110, something like that. But high blood pressure is good if you need it. The doctors want to put you on high blood pressure medication, you're in trouble. If you have high blood pressure, that means you have caked arteries or veins, or you're overweight and you have pressure on your arteries and veins. You need high blood pressure. Everybody needs high cholesterol in our toxic society. I've got a Hall of Fame basketball player who's just turned 90 this year, and his cholesterol level stays on my diet 672. And he outdoes the teenagers on the ball field at 90 years old. 672. 672. He has no plaque. No. I had plaque in this carotid artery, carotid artery, since I was a child. And then last year, and I go have my system checked with an ultrasound, usually every 3 to 4 years. Let me finish. So I decided, well, I'm going to see what I can do with this, to break this down. I know that vinegar and pineapple are a great break down things very well. So I decided to do it in conjunction with cucumber juice, which is high in silicone, will help the membrane of the skin. So I made a mixture every 3 days of this mixture and drank it. I just had my carotid artery checked 4 weeks ago, completely clean. And every year it come back with the right one had, and they showed the photograph of the thickness. This time, since I did that, and I only did it for 9 months, 3 days, 2 to 3 days a week. And in that amount of time, it completely cleaned that carotid artery.
What was the mixture?
The rate I used about a cup of, or 3/4 of a cup of cucumber juice, a tablespoon of vinegar, an ounce of pineapple, and I put a tablespoon of, 2 tablespoons of coconut cream and a tablespoon of dairy cream. And it came out to about a cup.
And you blended
No
it?
doctor.
I blended it, yes.
No doctor.
Because and I peeled the cucumber, because that's vegetation, we won't digest it. And then slice it into, circular slices.
Any recommendations for plant fasciitis?
You got more questions answered than anybody.
So,
Okay.
thanks.
Plant fasciitis and repairing damage from fasciitis.
Well, fasciitis are the protective tissues usually in the foot. And they get they're collected with a lot of toxins, so they start hardening, dead cells in there. They don't have the elasticity anymore, and they start buckling. That's the big problem. You can put clay packs, moist clay packs, you have to keep them wet all night long with hot water bottles around that. That'll rush the nutrients in there, and then the clay will also draw the poisons out to the skin. Terramin clay is the best. Terramin. Now I suggest that eating-wise you get the Terrasil, not the Terramin. Use the Terramin for her face, do just the opposite of what they say. Well, no, I have a DVD here. You can watch it many times. It's 5-hour lecture.
So you're not teaching or doing anything?
I do that all over the world, but not here in LA.
How about the desert?
I haven't done it in California, except in Northern California.
What states in the U.S.?
I do it in many states.
Is your website?
And you have to get on my email list, optimal@earthlink.net. Optimal@earthlink.net. You email me, I'll put you on my email list, and you'll get notified when I do the search. Next, I'll be going to Asia and then to Australia. Well, you can do that, but you also have a lot of damage to the system usually in that approach. I don't find it's a safe way to do it.
What are you doing?
But they're also using chemicals in that process. And when I did the fecal tests and the urinary tests to check, they always say, they use a pig test and say, well, 90% of it is removed from the body in 42 hours. That's in pigs. In human urine and feces, I've only seen 24%. So you've got those chemicals now in your body, even though you don't have plaque. Now what are you going to do? You're going to get thrombosis or varicose veins. That's what you're going to end up with. So you have to watch your treatments. Even though they may work, they can do have side effects. So you have to be very careful. No, the plaque can get dissolved, but it also, the chemicals in the formulas that they use to do that start eating into the arterial vein. No, because those foods are processed. There's a chemical involved there. You check it out. You check the chemistry all out. You say, absolutely, I want to know everything that's in this product that you use to clean the system. And it's not plant-based. You can have plant-based, but if it's treated with kerosene, you've got kerosene in it. I don't care if it's plant-based. You can have vitamins, plant-based, kerosene in it. A lot of other chemicals.
The author, the guy said that
Very toxic. No, that's not full of kerosene. That's full of just dried, dead stuff. It's good minerals for plants.
You can't. And if you have liquid whey, that would be different. Fresh liquid whey. That's just, it'll pump you up with good, it'll give you a lot of minerals to build your muscles up. But it'll be excuse me, did you have a question? No dehydrated food because there's no water in it. You destroy the enzymes and dehydrate. You don't digest it, maybe 5–10% of it. Unless it's something like raisins or dates, then you will digest a lot of sugars in it. But you better have a lot of fat in it. Because you have a lot of advanced glycation formed and stored. They live what? Like never experimented. They went out of business. But I don't know that. I don't know if it's true. I don't know if it's true at all. Well, he's a what they call instincto. He eats a lot of fruit, 60% fruit. He also has a serious psychological problem. He goes to anger quickly. He doesn't sit well. He doesn't read well. He's on the move all the time. I don't want that. I don't want health that way. I want to be able to sit, have a good relationships, and not be yelling at people. Way too much fruit. Yeah, 60% fruit. Because his wife she didn't get cancer from the meat. It's impossible. You get cancer from building dead blood cells. Dead cells. Well, cancers break down dead cells. So her liver is probably not producing bile to digest fats to help the lymphatic system dissolve dead cells and use them for the body, or her lymphatic system wasn't working.
Remember that wasn't for real.
Vomit. Bile in your vomit, you know you produce it. Or if you even regurgitate and get that acid, that nasty, bitter acid. Hydrochloric acid is not bitter, but bile is. Get that bitter acid, taste, and that gas, bitter acid and gas, when you belch. Also, you can tell if in your feces you've got raw cream that comes through and it's like pearlized and shiny and it coats everything. You're not digesting fat. We're not making the food. That's the best. I already talked about that. Yeah, right. Remember, parasites are your best friends. They get rid of dead cells the quickest, toxins in the body. You have rectal damage? Blood vessel. Well, when you have that kind of situation, it's the only thing that's going to resolve that. I talked about salt already. No matter what kind of salt it is, you've got concentrated rock salt. We don't eat rock in the first place. And when we eat rock salt, no matter if it's Celtic, Dead Sea, no matter what it is, your body will separate, isolate the sodium and it becomes explosive. You heard it. 5%. I recommend people do 10%. I've been on this diet so long, 10% is too much. I only want to sleep 4 hours a day and work 20 hours a day. If I eat 10% fruit, I will sleep 6 hours. 2 hours of the day I've lost. 8,000 or more? 8,000 or more? Usually I have my vegetable juice first thing in the morning, cheese first, then about 30 minutes after that, vegetable juice, about 35–40 minutes after that, I'll eat my meat meal, and then I'll sip on milk, throughout the day, or sports formula, and ice cream formula, and then about somewhere between noon and 2 o'clock. I'll have my fruit and some kind of fat. Like today I have berries and milk and cream and eggs. 6 eggs. I sip on that through the afternoon.
Wheatgrass
And then I'll have my meat again in the evening
Wheatgrass.
or during the night.
Wheatgrass. What do you take on wheatgrass?
Like I said in my book, wheatgrass is very bad. There are more books and things down here. Do you like me to sign?
Do you have more CDs left?
Pardon? Wheatgrass has a tendency to make the intestinal tract alkaline and the blood acidic, and you need just the opposite. The intestinal tract needs to be acidic to digest your animal food. Yeah, well, you don't want to over-acidify the blood. The blood should be about 5 for a human. All these alternatives say, oh, we should get it up to 6.5, 6.77, something like that. If you did that, you wouldn't digest anything. They don't need protein and fat. So mine's been 5.5 for 28 years.
John, what should take on
Aajonus.
Yes. What should take on the how much you got?
But I sent out an email, and you can get it in the newsletters if you subscribe to the newsletters. $85 a year. You get all of my letters back to 2006, and that's about 1,200 pages. That's going to be my next book. So I've got all that stuff in there, what to do to offset. Because there's a lot of food I have to offset. Yeah, but that'll be out in a year. But you can get all the information already if you subscribe to my newsletter at the website. Okay?
The very first thing you eat is cheese. How many ounces? Well,
I eat a tablespoon and a half of cheese first thing to absorb all the poison. When you eat unsalted raw cheese alone, it will absorb all the poisons that are in your stomach and intestines, and you'll pass out in pieces. If you eat salted raw cheese, you'll reabsorb it because the salt explodes and breaks it down and digests it for you. If you eat pasteurized cheeses or homogenized cheeses, they will redigest your poisons again.
so, but 1 tablespoon of cheese.
1.5 tablespoons of cheese.
What type of cheese? Cottage cheese?
It's up to you. It doesn't make
It
any
doesn't matter.
difference. As long as it's raw, no salt. No, cottage cheese is normally cooked. Yeah, but you just let it sit and clabber. And then you pour that into a cheesecloth or like a good t-shirt, like this material or organic, sewed into a sock. And then you pour the clabbered milk into that, and then all the whey drains out the ketchup and drink that. And then you've got this cheese, cottage cheese. You let it dry as you want, just add a little cream to it. It's cottage cheese. Okay, pancreas has nothing to do with digestion except that it's an architect. It tells the body what enzymes it needs to make to break down the foods, molecules, and reconvert them into human cells and human nutrition. And pancreas doesn't actually do anything except address it, but it will, if you eat excessive fruits or excessive sugars, it has to make insulin. Normally, pancreas does almost nothing with insulin. Insulin used to be just a fraction of the diet because we only 5% carbohydrates. It's supposed to be 5%. Lucy, 4.3 million years ago, had a pancreas 2.5 times smaller than ours. She was a raw meaty. She didn't eat fruit. And when you live outdoors like I did for 3 years, you don't find fruit everywhere. And where you find it, the birds eat it all. So you do not, primates did not eat a lot of fruit. That is absolute Paleolithic bullshit. Excuse but when I hear somebody come up with that theory and they never lived outdoors long enough to know what goes on, and I bicycle all the way from Yucatan to Alaska, living off the land. And there are no fruits unless you cultivate them. Absolutely none. And the birds get them when you go there. Absolutely. Well, in conjunction with the hot baths, the hot tubs. I had lymphoma. I had them all over my body. Lipoma is still a fat. It's not a fat. It's usually a node, a lymphatic node that's swollen with fat.
I got one here. I think it's a way to pesticides.
Yeah, it could be. Absolutely.
So how do you get rid of it?
Pack it with clay, keep it wet, wrap some plastic over that, not touching the skin, keep it moist all night, put a hot water on it. Yeah, and then put wrap the towel around hot water so it stays, the heat is concentrated into the arm. Well, you should be doing a good diet. Yeah, eat some pineapple and coconut cream. I had a woman who had one this big, and she was crippled 3 years ago when she came to me in Chicago. She had rheumatoid arthritis, and all of her knuckles swelled like this, a big mineral lipoma, as big as a hardball right here. Her knees were blown out this big, all the toes, the joints are all crippled. So a year on the diet, she came back, she did a hot bath 2 days a week, 90 minutes a day, 2 days weekly. She came back, she was able to feed herself now. Her husband still had to do those. She could stand up with holding something. Then the next year I said, you need to do more hot baths and just keep it up. And when she came back this year, I said to her husband, strong guy. I said, look, you need to put her in every day, 90 minutes a day, and I'll bet you she'll walk in here next year. So 2 months ago, I was in Chicago, and guess who walked in? That massive swelling went down in 1 year, and had been there for 15 years in those hot tubs. 90 minutes a day. And if you get too hot, you can't stay in, you just take an ice pack and put it on top of your head for 45 seconds. It's the brain that hates to be overheated.
You know, we got a big radio station in Boston.
About 105 to 108.
What about if you use DMSO?
It's a poison, it's a chemical. Now, like I said, when people use DMSO internally, only 24% leaves the body. DMSO is a poison, it's a chemical. Okay, folks, we're going to have to end it there.
Thank you. Thank you. Frank.
That just means you're not breaking down your fat, so your ammonia is being built with fat. Not a bad thing. That's not a bad thing. Just eat some pineapple and some grapes.
Right. They come out of your